Hey guys, how's it going? Happy 2026. I know the channel's been quiet a little bit for the last few months. We had family staying with us during the holidays, and then I tore up the back part of the room for a little while I did some change out back there that we'll talk about a little bit today. But what I really wanted to kind of do is at the end of 2024, I did a full theater walkthrough down here in the Othello Cinema, and that's over on the AV Nirvana YouTube channel if you want to go check that out. But I did that whole thing, and my plan when I finished that at the end of 2024 was in 2025, I'm going to upgrade my projector to one of the new JVCs, and that was going to be it for the year. And looking back, there were a lot of updates here in the theater that I wasn't really expecting to do last year, but I did, and so I thought now that I've got the back part of the room pretty much done. I'm still working a little bit out in the hallway, but and we'll talk about that more in depth later because I still have a couple things happening back there. But I wanted to go ahead and give another like a full update on where the theater is as of right now. And one of the one of my favorite upgrades that I did this year was actually I finally, and it's something I've wanted to do since I got in here, I've got automated blinds now, so I can open up when I'm down here working during the day and have natural light, and it's just a lot more inviting. And those are from SmartWave, and they've just been rock solid. They're solar powered with a little solar panel on each one in the window, so I don't have to worry about, you know, installing hardwired power or replacing batteries or charging anything. It's just they stay completely charged, and it's fantastic. The other thing, which kind of actually led to the remodeling of the back of the room, is that I swapped out my Valencia Monza carbon fiber seating this year for the Valencia Barcelona Grand Ultimate seating. This is actually the seating that we wanted to get the first time around, but we sat in a competitor's chair that was similarly designed and we hated it. So we decided to go with the Monza when we first got rid of the couch in here. And they were great, but I sat in these at Cedia this year. They were part of the Sound Room 11 with Lumagen and Seymour and NextLevel Acoustics. And I sat in them at that point and knew that I wanted to switch. I realized how much more comfortable the Valencia version of these seats actually is compared to the ones we sat in. So we've got these now, and granted, we did get the Grand Ultimate as opposed to just the Barcelona Ultimate seats, so they are a little wider, and we did lose a little bit of our walkway area over here, but it's not too bad. Probably even worse than that is that the center, actually this is now probably the closest to the center seat. Due to the narrow aspect of this room, we can't really get a good perfect center seat. And with the Monzas, the armrest in our configuration, because we've got the love seat and chair here, but the armrest on the Monza was straight down the middle of the room, so these two were both equally good seats. And this one is actually a little bit this way because the seats are wider, and that side is up against the wall. So these are the two best seats, but this is actually probably the best seat, even though I always sit in this one because I like having two arms for the chair, and my partner likes to lie down over here. So she lies down, I sit up, and everybody's relatively happy. But just going through the room, at that point when I did my last walkthrough, I had just swapped out the material in my Seymour AV Proscenium frame from the UF to the Enlighter Neo as a test with that Seymour Screen Excellence fabric, installing it into a grommet screen system. And it worked. It was a lot of work to get it smooth and stretched cleanly, because that normally goes with their grip channel that is a constant pressure around the entire perimeter of the screen instead of, every 6 inches or whatever the grommets are. But got it smoothed out, and it's been really, really, really nice. It is much smoother than even the UF. The XD material, which I've had before, I didn't realize I was seeing the texture of that until I replaced it with the UF in my old theater back in Iowa. Lost a little gain going to the UF, but I was very close in that theater. It was a smaller screen, smaller room. So I got the UF when we first ordered this screen out here, and it was great. Didn't have any complaints with it, really. But they sent me out a piece of the Enlighter Neo material to put in here just to see if we could get it to work with grommets, and it did. Like I said, it was a lot of work. It took me several tries over the course of a week to get all of the wrinkles out of it. Not wrinkles, but the places where the pressure was uneven from the grommets, and trying to get the grommets in exactly the right positions, or the pegs that the grommets attached to in just the right position so that they wouldn't pull it a little bit askew and create a bubble in there. So got that there, and that's been great all year round. And I think I'm going to just work from front to back now. Also this year, I added 2 additional subs, the NextLevel Acoustics. These are the high velocity 15-inch subs, so they're the HV15. It's a bandpass subwoofer design, which is not exactly common in a home theater situation, but they work really, really well. And I've got those in the front corners of the room. My 2 SVS sealed 12-inch subs are now in the back, one near the surround and one in the center of the back of the room. And those are acting as filler and support subs, working to flatten out the bass response throughout the room. And also just, with Dirac art, they are helping to support any anomalies in the front part of the room. But, along those lines, I still have all NextLevel Acoustics, the reference the Cinema 8s behind the screen, as well as for my side surrounds. And I have NextLevel Acoustics, their angled bookshelves on the ceiling for my height channels. And this year, I actually, because of the changes I was making in the back of the room, I came across a pair of PSA, Power Sound Audio bookshelf speakers, and they have 10-inch drivers and a horn tweeter. And I haven't fully integrated them into the system yet, but I've got them behind me. I don't know which side you can see them on. I've got them ready to go, ready to connect in as rear surrounds. I've not had those in this room since that's all been office area, but when I rearranged, the desk is now under the windows, since I can open the windows now. And so the middle of the back of the room under the projector was open, and they also help to prevent anyone from banging their head on the projector back there, since the desk is no longer keeping people from possibly walking underneath there. So I've got those back there. I got it, like I said, it's not that I'm looking to switch out of the NextLevel Acoustics, but I got those on Facebook Marketplace for an unbelievable deal. And I thought it would be a really good way to kind of have a extra pair of speakers that should be easy to blend with the NextLevel Acoustics so that I can try them as back surrounds. If I decide, that I'm going to keep that, maybe I'll get a couple more of the Cinema 8s to use as back surrounds in the back there, and then I can experiment, with those as wide channels up here, and see how that works. It's just kind of a little extra. It's an extra speaker pair to have for trying things, trying different things without having to buy another pair. So I thought that that was a good purchase. I think I paid $300 for the pair, and it included a nice pair of heavy-duty monoprice stands. And that speaker is normally, I think, $600 or $700 each. So great deal, great speakers to have on hand. But no, I'm not looking to sell off the NextLevel Acoustics and swap them out for a different brand. So to the back of the room and what I did back there, and then we'll get into the equipment rack a little bit. But again, I'm going to probably save that for a part 2 of this video, because there's actually a big hole in it right now. I'm going to rearrange it again shortly. But previously, I had the desk back there that had equipment rack built in underneath the desk, and I was trying to combine my work from home space and my video editing desk and my home theater rack into one big piece of furniture, and it was a nightmare the entire time I had it, quite frankly. I couldn't get to the back of that desk. I couldn't access the back of the equipment rack once things were installed. So the wiring was just an absolute nightmare. And every time you swap something out, it got worse and worse and worse. So I gave up on that. That effort was it was a losing battle. So now I've got a nice minimalist sit-stand desk that is facing the windows. So I've got some natural light on me while I'm working. I can sit up, or I can sit, I can stand. It's really, really nice. It's got great cable management features underneath so that I can I can keep it clean. It looks nice. Even when I raise it up as a stand level, there's like 2 cables hanging down. Everything else is tucked away neatly. I can easily pop something in there, whether it's a video editing project or something that I need to do, or just something that I need to charge. I have easy access to power outlets underneath. And that desk is from Desky, and I've got a review of that coming up very, very soon, for those who want more information on that desk. It's just been fantastic. I've been using it now for a few weeks, and I love being able to sit or stand. Just keeps me a little more active during the day. It allows, it has timers built into it, so you can have it automatically tell you, hey bud, it's time to stand up for a little bit. You can, it's got, it's all powered, and it's got, memory settings and a little remote. So that's a great desk that I'm really enjoying. I mentioned the 2 PSA bookshelves that are back there, and the projector, the JVC NZ700. I picked that up. I think it was in March that I ordered it of last year, so almost a year ago now. And I had it in here for, a couple of weeks. Chris Deering came out and calibrated it, and 5 minutes after he walked out the door, I found what I thought initially was a stuck red pixel. And there was a few instances of those on the forums, but what it turned out to be was not a stuck pixel. It was a dust blob in the optical path. So JVC was great to deal with. They sent a replacement out. I sent that one back, and the replacement is actually, once Chris came out and calibrated it, it measures even better than the original one that I had sent. Getting, a few more nits. I'm in I'm really close to 100 nits now, even with the 0.8 gain screen. and a scope screen at that. You know, this is the Proscenium with motorized masking at a 2.4 to 1 aspect ratio. So with the JVC, I'm able to use the full 17 by 9. I'm able to use the full width of the panel. The Lumagen handles all my aspect ratio switching. So that is nice. You know, I don't have an anamorphic lens yet. I've considered it, but man, that's a big investment. But who knows? Maybe someday. But the you know, the projector on this screen is giving me just about 100 nits. It's like 96 or 97 is I think where this one was measuring. The laser, you know, true 4K compared to the E-Shift model I had before. And the 790 was a great JVC projector. It had a beautiful image, but I was really pushing it a little bit beyond its capability in this room. I think just the throw distance and the lower gain screen, I think, were just a little more than it was capable of. And the NZ700, I'm honestly, you know, I'm probably right on the edge with that as well, but it's doing a great job. I'm really happy with the picture, the sharpness, the color, just the richness of color. The blacks are still fantastic on it. So I'm really happy with the projector. And that is, I think, pretty much the room. I think I had the rowing machine back there last time too, just behind these seats. But yeah, when I brought these seats in with the low back, that was definitely the deciding factor that it was time to redo the back of the room and clean it up so that I can create more content. So it's finally about done back there. I still have, you can see here, some black panels to fill in on the walls here. You know, but I've got the shades are smart shades, so they're all in my automation. So if I come down here to watch a game during the day and you know the blinds are open, I turn everything on. As soon as I start playing the game, they'll close when the lights come down, and you know, they're automatically going up at sunrise and down at sunset. And you know, just really really cool to have we've got this powered blinds upstairs, but they're older and they're RF and they eat through batteries like you wouldn't believe. They're not original to the house, so they're not, you know, controlled by AC. They're battery powered, and they're kind of a nightmare. So I'm considering investing in more of the SmartWave shades upstairs for the rest of the house, but there's a lot of big windows up there. Another thing that has been really kind of a back and forth tug of war this year has been remotes. You know, we've got, you know, my top two here are still the Unfolded Circle Remote 3 and the Ava Cinema Remote. Both of these have been really just fantastic remotes. I would be more than happy with either one if one of them ceased to exist. I also have the Sofa Baton X2, which is a huge step up over the X1S. Huge improvement. Still not in the same ballpark as these, but also it's, you know, it's the one that you can go on Amazon and buy today versus, you know, ordering and having a wait time or contacting a dealer and that. So it really depends on what it is that you're looking for in a remote, but I highly recommend either of these two if you're really just looking for something that is a quality build, very powerful. The Unfolded Circle is a little more customizable by the user. The Ava Cinema Remote, they're both great hardware, but the Ava hardware is the one I find myself gravitating to, which is actually very interesting. I didn't think I was going to like it with the glass touchpad at the bottom of the screen. You know, I didn't think I would like that. I thought I was going to gravitate towards physical buttons, which these are great. on the unfolded circle. But when I do walk down here to grab something, I grab the Ava more often than not. I'm using both of them as very much as a front end to control my equipment. I'm not doing a lot of macros in any of them. I have my activities set up, or my flows as they're called on Ava, that power everything up and get everything configured, and the AVR is set to the right input, and then it brings up the proper controls and the feedback on the screen. But any true automation, like lights turning off the lights or bringing them on at the credits and things like that, any automation is still done completely in Home Assistant. The remotes are strictly remotes. They're what I use to control, specific volume updates, channel switches, navigate menus. That's what I'm using the remotes for. Automations, I'm not trying to say when I press play, turn the lights off, do this and that and the other thing. Those are things that are done in Home Assistant. So regardless of what remote I pick up, it's going to have the same effect when I start a movie on Kaleidescape. So again, these are my two favorites. The Sofa Baton is a big step in the right direction, but it's still not to the level of either of these remotes yet. But yeah, so that's kind of the updates in this room. Things are, and I say in this room, that's because the rack is now out in the hallway. One of the other big things that happened this year was I spent most of the year with a StormAudio ISR Fusion 20 AVR in this room. I got that and I set up Dirac art myself, and it sounded really good. And then after listening to that for a couple months, I had Matt from StormAudio logged in and did a remote calibration. So I kind of moved the mic around according to his direction, and he configured all the filters, and then I'd play something back here and listen to it and give him some feedback on what I was hearing, and maybe a little bit more of this, a little less of that, and he dialed it in. So I spent most of the year with that StormAudio. I sent it back actually in January, and so now in the rack I have my old Anthem AVM 60 back in the rack with Emotiva amps, and I listening to that again and just how it was calibrated long ago has me kind of thinking about some things. Like the StormAudio, the ISR Fusion still greatly outperformed the sound quality of this older Anthem with older DACs and that. But there are some things I'm hearing on the Anthem that I'm realizing that I wasn't getting from the Storm, that when we do the calibration on I let the cat out of the bag. I've got a Core 16 Plus coming with the Impulsion amps to power things. That's why the rack is still somewhat not finished, but that's coming soon, and I'll get that in, and we'll talk about the rack, and I'll review that as well. The Impulsion amps are their new amps, which replace the PA line, these are now more powerful, 2 rack spaces, so they're smaller, and they're smaller, and they're better, and they're more powerful. So, and they offer full audio over IP configuration. So you can just connect them to select Storm processors with Ethernet instead of a whole bunch of analog interconnects. They actually have some room EQ capability within the amps themselves. I'm not exactly sure what that capability is, but we will surely find out and talk about it with you. but yeah, so the StormAudio is coming, and I'm excited to get that calibrated again, and get back to that because that ISR Fusion really was kind of mind-boggling when you consider it was an AVR and how well it actually performed. Like I was astonished at how powerful it was and how well it performed and how great it sounded in here. Um, and so I'm excited to get the ISP Core 16 Plus in here. That'll, 16 plus another two channels. But that'll be more than enough channels for what I'm gonna need in here. Once that arrives, I'll get the back surround channels built into that configuration as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big one. But in the rack, I'm still using the Lumagen. I still have an Apple TV. I have Kaleidescape. I'm still using my Strato C with a 48 terabyte Terra, the full size Terra server. What else is in there? I got rid of the Sony 4K Blu-ray player, which was a Mark I version of the UDP 800. Didn't have Dolby Vision. It was a little slow for loading and unloading. Replaced it with a Panasonic 820. It's fine. As often as I watch a disc, I'm not overly concerned. But I wanted something with Dolby Vision just because a couple of the discs that I've had to buy because they weren't on Kaleidescape are Dolby Vision, and the Lumagen being able to now do LLDV. Just wanted to try them out and see what they looked like, and I found a good deal on a open box at Best Buy, I think, and ordered that. So I also just recently replaced all of my Pixel Gen HDMI cables. The whole system, except for the longer run to the projector, has been Pixel Gen in here for several years. But I was working with Chris Deering a couple months ago and had one of my cables that was going out and just ordered a whole new set of all bullet train cables. So all the cabling in the rack for HDMI are 48 gig whatever bits or bits, I think, gigabit per second, passive HDMI cables certified up to 10K from Bullet Train, and then it's actually an active fiber going from the rack to the projector, also Bullet Train, and they've been pretty much rock solid since I put them in. Really, all things considered, with all the endorsements that Bullet Train cables have from Jim at Lumagen and Chris Deering, they both swear by them, and I think it was under $500 to replace every HDMI in my system. So I did that, and yeah. What else? The rack itself back here, I kind of went like, I remember in my earlier home theater days, and the home theater stand was always something to, looking at the nicer stores, and I always loved the Salamander Synergy series. And I found one of those on Facebook Marketplace and went and got it. And then I reached out to the company and ordered the retrofit for rack rails that go into there, and I just love it. It's such a classic look. It's kind of a timeless look. I love I love how it looks back there in the corner. Again, I'll get more into the back area there once it's complete. I'm also gonna blacken that wall there, the wall that's facing kind of this side right here. is going to be the wood slats. I've got those. I just need to trim them to fit into the doorway to cover the wall. But I'm going to have a much nicer entry to the theater when you come to the bottom of the stairs. It's going to look a lot nicer. All the gear is outside of the room so that the heat and any fan noise from the Kaleidescape or the amps is now outside of the room. And the only thing inside the room that will make any noise is the projector itself. And there's also the thought of perhaps having Michael Franks build a hush box for the projector. Still considering that. I haven't completely, like, I'm convinced that it's a great product. I'm just, trying to budget things somewhat. Like I've pointed out, there were a lot more upgrades last year than I was expecting to happen. But they've all really added something. A lot of what I added in the last year has been comfort and convenience, more so than gear. With the shades, the new desk back here, the aesthetic of the room is better than it was a year ago. Part of the seating, part of why we wanted this seating was because it is a low back and it's less intrusive when you walk in the room. There's not these high back chairs cutting the room in half. It makes the room feel, big like it actually is when you walk in here, because again, this is a open floor plan home. You come down the stairs to use the laundry room or get something out of the guest room, and you come through the theater. So between the low back seats, natural light, it's a much more inviting room to come hang out in, even if we're not watching a movie. It just makes it a lot more pleasant when we are coming down here to do other things. I work down here during the day all day, and it feels much nicer down here now with natural light and without a 2/3 wall is essentially what that was with the high back chairs in here. So the feel of the room is much better. The performance is absolutely much better. With additional subs, the StormAudio equipment, and soon to be 7.4.4 instead of just 5.4.4. The new projector is just, I was, I knew it was going to be a big improvement, and I was really looking forward to it, but it actually surprised me a little bit that it was such a big improvement. That being said, it all still just, it all comes down to the movies we like to watch. We watched No Other Choice last night. Fantastic film. One of my favorites that I've seen in a long time. Yeah, but we've had some great content to watch down here with Sinners. I actually really enjoyed Tron Ares. It was a visual audio fest. Maybe not the greatest story, but who cares on that? Something like that is just fun to watch anyway. Weapons was fantastic. There's just been a lot of really good content to watch, and I feel fortunate to have such a great theater to watch it in. I'm going to wrap it up from there today, but stick around, make sure you like and subscribe. Like I said, I've got a more in-depth look at the desk coming very, very soon. I'm gonna, once the StormAudio, the new gear arrives, I'm gonna get the rack cleaned up and ready to go, and I'm gonna do a full video like this on just the rack and just that entry space. So that should be fun. Looking inside that old vintage Synergy rack, red cedar, gorgeous. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. What is your upgrade? What are your upgrades for 2026? Or are you saving your budget for more movies to watch and more content to view and to enjoy with your family and friends. What are your needs? What new tech are you looking forward to hearing? Leave it in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stick around, and we'll talk to you again real soon.